Hey there, my dear brothers and sisters in Christ. So I wanted to talk about this for years, literally years I've wanted to make this video. And the philosophy sometimes you just got to live by is that the best way to do a thing is to just do it. And I'm just going to do it. I don't know how prepared I am. I was thinking about writing stuff down and just reading off that because I really wanted to make this very special. It's a very personal story, very personal time in my life. Back in 2006, we're going to talk about the first time I tried, not necessarily fulfilled or accomplished it, but tried to share the gospel personally with somebody, not just giving somebody a gospel tract, but actually one-to-one conversation. So in order to do this, I really need to back up and give you the big picture and talk about some other stuff leading up to this point. I do want to make this its own standalone video talking about my life growing up as a kid and part of my high school life and things like that, because it's very important. And I want to do that to be an encouragement because, well, I'll get into that. Let's just get into it right now. So before I get into talking about trying to share the gospel, which basically ended up in tragedy because I lost 3 of the best friends that I have had during that time in my life. I need to talk about my upbringing, and I'll eventually hopefully put out a video talking about this more in depth. I've wanted to make this video as well for a very long time to help you in encouragement, but real quick, I'll try to go through this as fast as I can. But the way I grew up, guys, I had basically no friends growing up. I was very shy. I had extreme social anxiety. Like, it wasn't just that I was shy where I didn't talk to a whole lot of people. I didn't really talk to anybody. I had one friend that lived down the road from me. We lived on a dead-end street. It's now not a dead-end street anymore, but a few houses away from us, actually 2 of the houses at that end of the street, I kind of talked to a little bit. But when I went to school, guys, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't even talk to the teachers, really. I was so messed up as a kid. Not only was I bullied for a time at least, I didn't talk to the teachers. I had to see specialists. I had to see a speech therapist because, and you can even tell, like, right now my speech isn't like super great. It's hard for me to pronounce certain words. My wife and I kind of joke around. She kind of makes fun of me in a, I don't mind. It's a kind of a polite, way to do that. Like, some words I have a hard time pronouncing, but I used to, see a person in like kindergarten, first grade, second grade. And he was the only person I talked to. His name was Kurt Carlson. He's a great guy. I have him on Facebook. He moved away, but I found him on Facebook, many years later. We talk every once in a great while, but he was an awesome guy. That was basically my friend, I guess you could say, in school. But he's the only person that I talked to. I didn't talk to teachers, really. I did not talk to any classmates. Every, whether it be recess or lunchtime, we sit at our desk and eat our food, I had no friends. I talked to nobody. There was very, very small exception. I had a friend named Tony for a couple of years. Talked to him a little bit. Other than that, my mouth was zipped shut. I just had extreme anxiety. I wouldn't even talk to my grandparents. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. There was one instance in kindergarten at the YMCA, or preschool rather, where they went to Hardee's. I'm not sure how well known Hardee's is, if it's a popular thing like McDonald's everywhere in the country, but it's kind of like a McDonald's. They had a play area back then. They don't really have that much anymore at these restaurants, but they had a play area, and we're going to go on a field trip over there. I was so looking forward to it. I went to the bathroom, 5 years old or whatever age I was, came out, everybody was gone. Looked out the window, I saw them loading up into the bus, and there I was by myself, bawling my eyes out. I remember that. I remember sitting there, looking out the window, crying my eyes out. 4 or 5 years old, whatever age. I see people walk past the classroom. They're just looking at me like, what's going on over there? Maybe it was people using the gym at the YMCA. I don't know. And they just walked past me. I was ignored. I was left alone. Now, I have no idea if this is what caused any of this. Probably not. Maybe it's just something else going on with me psychologically. I don't know. That's just one of the earlier memories I have. But from then and onward, I just didn't talk to anybody. Again, I want to kind of fast forward a little bit here, but that went on through basically my entire life. And I can't wait to go more in depth with this and share some more personal stories, but you have no idea how that messes with you to never have a group of friends, to always be sitting by yourself or at recess by yourself, just watching everybody else have fun, daydreaming every single time, just wondering what it would be like to be a popular person or to have friends. Again, very small few exceptions. Now, the only friend I did have growing up, I think I talked about this before, my friend Brad Dassey. And I'll just get this out of the way too, in case you remember that. Yes, I'm from Manitowoc. And for those of you who might be familiar with the Netflix show, it used to be super popular for a hot minute, which put Manitowoc on the map. Making a Murderer, it was very popular for a short time. Not many people talk about it anymore. It's a very interesting story. And I'm not going to take sides on the whole issue. That's not the point I bring that up. But just because I mentioned the name and where I'm from, yes, my friend Brad that I grew up with is the brother of the convicted murderer, one of the convicted murderers of that show. So yeah, that's interesting. Now, I'd never met Brendan, who is one of the people in the show on, what was going on there. At least I don't think I have. If I did, he was in the background and I never talked to him probably. But anyway, suffice to say, Brad was my only friend starting from 3rd grade onward. But the problem is that he never had the same class as me, not once. We did have the same recess once in a blue moon, like every once in a great while. But for the most part, no. Not even when we got to junior high, not even in high school, did we ever have the same class or lunch period. Like in junior high and high school, for all of those years, never had the same lunch period. So for lunch, I would just sit by myself. I was always picked last. Some of you might know how that feels, or, you could only imagine how that would feel. I had a lot of problems, and I'll get into that more in this other video whenever I make it. Oh boy, there's a lot of stuff I could share about that. It was hard growing up, but because of that, it really messes with you. Even to this day, I have a lot of problems. If I can call it problems, in a way, it's a blessing in disguise. This kind of leads into like how I started with evangelism, and why in the world would God pick someone like me who's got no skill? Like seriously, I have no talents, no skill in anything. And then to top it all off, I have extreme anxiety. Like, guys, you have no idea. Like, I'm so messed up that I had a public speaking class once that I almost faked passing out just to get out of it, because it was a topic that I was super, super familiar with. I was, wanting to go to school to be a nutritionist. I was really big into nutrition. My topic was vitamin D and sunlight, and how important that is, because, sunlight's the bad guy. It causes cancer, and we're supposed to be afraid of it. And halfway through my speech, I froze for literally an entire minute, and it felt like an eternity. And I was seriously thinking about just fake passing out and just like falling on the ground. I almost did, because I just wanted to get out of that situation. Oh, that was an embarrassment. But that's just the micro example of how messed up. And, having relationships, trying to have relationships, lots of problems there. Just because of my past, not having friends, not knowing how to conduct myself. Like, for example, I had a girlfriend one time, loved her to death, and we would get into these situations where she's with her friends, and me being the outsider, I always notice how guys just seem to always be funny. Like, they always know how to crack jokes. They're like 2.5 seconds. I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm okay hanging out with one person, but whenever I get involved in a group of people, because I never had that experience growing up, I have no idea. And I was very depressed growing up because of this and in those relational situations. And I just felt so embarrassed, like nobody's ever going to love me. I literally thought I was going to end up, I don't know, having a house by myself in the woods somewhere, never getting married, never having any kids, and things like that. So I just had a lot of depression, a lot of issues. So with that as the background, let's get into 11th grade. So what is that? You have freshman is 9th grade, sophomore, junior, and senior. That's how it works, right? I'm just familiar with the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, 12th grade. But 9th grade, the way our school system was set up in Manitowoc, junior high is 7, 8, and 9, at least that building. I mean, high school technically starts in 9th grade, but it was still in that same building. And then the high school building was 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. Now, this was after I had already gone to jail. I already talked about that whole situation. I guess you can consider I did have some more friends other than Brad at that time, because that's when I met my girlfriend that I ended up in jail because of the stuff that we got into. I talked about that several videos ago. You can check it out. And I did hang out with my brother's friends, but it's really embarrassing hanging out with my younger brother's friends, because they would be, oh, who are your friends? Or going into a relationship, the girl would ask you, or I want to pursue a relationship, oh, who are your friends? Who do you hang out with? Because that's just what people want to know. It's so hard in those situations, because now I got to make up something or lie, and oh yeah, I hang out, I'm friends with this guy when I'm really not. I might have hung out like once or whatever. It's so embarrassing to say, oh, Brad is my only friend. And Brad was kind of known as kind of the geek. He's a fun guy. He's got a lot of friends now and stuff, but he was kind of known as, he was way like 1,000 times more popular than me, and he did not have shyness. He was the polar opposite of me. Like, I'm shy, don't want to talk to anybody. I'm afraid of everything, basically. And he's like completely the opposite. We would like the same girl, for example, and I would never be able to talk to this girl. But he would just walk up to the girl and be like, hey, guess what? We like you. We both think you're, we both have a crush on you, or whatever. So polar opposite, very outgoing kind of a person, totally different than me. But anyway, so let's go into 11th grade. Now, there's a lot more I should probably explain with how I grew up. That's just kind of a very, very small picture. It was a pretty dark time in my life. So, yeah, 10th grade, so 10th grade at the high school building. That first year, basically sat by myself. Embarrassing, hated it. Probably, just trying to look like I'm busy, trying not to look too embarrassing, I guess. I did sit with a group of boys that was kind of off to the side, but they were kind of not the best group of people, but I tried to make myself look cool and, try to fit in, but didn't really work too well. There were some small exceptions in junior high, but anyway, just to get moving on. 11th grade, another school year, another lunch period of no friends. Sit by myself. Brad had a different lunch period. There's 3 lunch periods. Of course, he didn't have my lunch period. Here we go again. Whatever. Not going to make any friends. Just sit by myself, grab my food. Whatever. It's just going to be one of those years. I had a lot of anxiety moving forward in my life. Like, what am I going to do after I graduate? Yeah, at least I'm around people. I was very depressed. Until one day. It was pretty early on in 11th grade. It could have been in September, maybe just a few weeks into it. I think it was probably just maybe 2 weeks into it or something like that. Sitting there by myself, all depressed. And then all of a sudden, there's a tap on my shoulder. And this guy's changed my life. Didn't delete, everything I went through in my past. And I still struggle, I guess, with the after effects of it even today. But still, what happened after that was totally awesome. There was a girl. I turned around. There's a girl. And small girl, very sweet voice. She just asked me simply, hey, do you want to sit with us at our table? She's just like basically 1 or 2 tables behind me off to the side. And I'm very nervous. I'm like, I didn't even want to go over there, because they're not going to like me. No one can possibly like me. No one's ever going to like me. They're going to find out I'm really shy. I'm not going to be able to fit in. Clearly, they have a lot of friends. I do not do well in groups. I don't know how to be the funny guy that everybody else seems to be blessed with. Being the funny guy, crack jokes every 2.5 seconds, like I said. I can't be that person. But okay. Yeah, I'm not someone who usually says no. So, my heart's kind of skipping. Probably all that caffeine I had before. It's really late right now. I just got done making that previous video, and here I am, 12:46, and not really that tired. My heart's skipping right now. Maybe this will be the last video I ever make before I die. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, so I go sit with them, and I was kind of debating before I go into this, like, do I want to use their real first names, or should I just substitute their names like I did with the other video, me going to jail and substituting her name? I would just use their first names. I mean, it's not like they're going to watch this, or the people that know them are going to watch this anyway. So her name was Kelly, and she has a sister, a twin sister, in fact, and her name was Christine. So I sat with them, and they had some other friends that were at that table, and I got to know her, and we sat together. I think I probably tried to get away from them the first couple of days after that, sitting by myself. But you know what? I was super, super happy that she pursued me and asked me to sit with her once again in the preceding days after that. And guys, I've never really had something like this happen before. Now, they were really good friends. We never really hung out outside of school. It's mostly that lunch period. I don't think I've had class with any of them. Maybe I did somewhere, but I just don't remember. But anyway, getting back to that. So they also had another friend, and her name was Elizabeth. So it was the two twin sisters and Elizabeth, and they were really good friends with one another, especially Elizabeth and Kelly. They had some other friends too that I kind of got to know, and I think I knew maybe one or two of them beforehand, just a little bit here and there. But so that was a really awesome year. We hung out. I think we did a couple of things outside of school, maybe that first year. Can't remember if we hung out at all that summer, but then senior year comes along. And oh boy, here we go again. Am I going to sit by myself? This is the last year of school. What am I going to do? I had so much anxiety, so many questions about my future and things like that. And well, I think the way I remember it was that I think Elizabeth didn't have the same lunch period at first, but then she did, that she was able to switch or something. I can't remember the exact details, but eventually we were all back together again. And I think I remember us going to a different classroom and playing some chess and eating our lunch and stuff like that. But suffice to say, guys, those were really good friends. I love these girls. I'm even getting kind of teary-eyed right now. When I say love, I don't mean that there was a love interest, not like that, but they were really good friends. Now, I'm not going to deny that there was at least one or two or more points in time where there was something else brewing inside of me, my feelings towards any of them. But I was mostly closest to Elizabeth. We talked quite a bit. I was still pretty shy, and you know, I'm a lot more open of a person right now as far as talking to people. And I kind of wish, like, you know, I could have had the same outgoingness that I have right now and apply it to myself back then. But, you know, what happened. So I was still kind of shy and stuff. But me and Elizabeth, we talked in between classes. It was mostly me and her that talked the most. And then second would probably be me and Kelly. And then third, me and Christine. I remember it could have been that year. I think it was that year and I'll get into the story about evangelism. I know it's getting kind of late here as far as the time. New Year's Eve, it was probably my senior year, 12th grade. It was at Kelly and Christine's house. And they were just kind of having a girl party. They had some other friends, and I was invited. But I was so insecure, so shy, so depressed. Like, oh, I can't be funny. I don't know how to act. How am I supposed to act in the group setting? Nobody's going to like me. So I left the party early. Probably like 10 o'clock or something, and I literally drove 100 miles just by myself around the city, out in the country, whatever, crying, just depressed. And, you know, I rung in the new year just being all depressed and stuff. I think that was the 12th grade year when that happened. So yeah, that was basically my life back then. But I still had them as friends, and words cannot like do justice how much I love these girls. As far as, again, as friends, I'm speaking, even though there were other feelings toward, I mean, come on, you know, teenage guy at that time hanging out with these girls, but they were really special to me. They were very special. And let's see, there's a lot of stuff that I could probably talk about. We did hang out. I think we kind of lost touch after my senior year, because that's when I got into a relationship with somebody else, my second girlfriend. First girlfriend was that one I ended up in jail with. That's a whole long story. I can't remember how much I talked about in that jail video, which includes my testimony on how I got saved. So we kind of lost touch for the next year. Now, those girls were 1 year below me. I did take Kelly out to prom. I forgot to mention that. It was my first dance ever. And me being as shy as I am, like, I don't know how to dance. And I was super nervous about that. I remember going to prom, drinking lots and lots of water, just so I had an excuse to use the bathroom a lot. Yeah, that's how crazy it got. Anyway, fast forward, I was dating this girl, a lot of problems there again with my shyness. I literally bawled my eyes out in front of her because I was so afraid of losing her, because we got into these situations where she had a lot of friends. And I did not know how to act. And I was so embarrassed for her and so depressed. Who would want to date me? I was, man, it was pretty bad. Yeah, it was crazy times. But anyway, took a year off of school. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So, yeah, and that girlfriend I was dating at the time, she was also a year below me. So she still had another year of school yet, as well as Kelly, Christine, and Elizabeth. And I haven't really talked to them that much during this time until the next year. Kelly asked me, she called me up out of the blue. I was super happy to hear from her again. She asked me if I wanted to go to prom with her again. And I said, well, that'd be really awesome, but it's kind of weird because I'm dating somebody. Even though we went to prom the year before that, we weren't dating. It was just as friends. And Elizabeth was there and Christine was there. So we just kind of went as one big group, but Kelly was my, technically my date. And what's kind of, I don't know if I should mention this or not, but it's kind of funny, as I found out later, is that Kelly and Christine may technically be related to me through my mom's side, because their mom is, the same last name as my mom, and my mom tells me that she used to hang out with a distant cousin, and that was their mom. I haven't officially confirmed it, but I'm like almost 90% positive that they are my mom is related to their mom, which would make them related to me, and there was a potential for a relationship. That's, woo, wow, dodge that bullet. Anyway, I was closest to Elizabeth anyway, so there's that. So it's just, pretend it was only that. Anyway, so what was I talking about? Yeah, so eventually I started going to the UW, University of Wisconsin, Manitowoc in 2004 after taking a year off of school, because my girlfriend at the time was going there, and that's how I got ushered into going next. I might as well do something with my life, right? And then they also started going there, those three girls. We hung out quite a bit. My girlfriend at that time, November 4th, 2004, which is one of the darkest days of my life. She broke up with me after a year and 4 months of dating. That was a hard time, but I had them to fall back on, to be friends with. Now, I was still friends with Brad this entire time. In fact, my friend Brad was the one that invited me to church in 2003. That's how I started my church life. Because again, I got saved in 2000. I knew zero Christians, had no idea how you go to church. Do you need to sign up? Like, what do you do? I had no idea, as crazy as that sounds. I talked about that in the other video. It's 2003. I started going to church because my friend Brad invited me, because he used to go to youth group there. Anyway, but I didn't even have friends at church. Like, nobody wanted to really talk to me. I always sat in the back by myself for the most part. It's just the way it is, kind of the same way today. After church, I'm all by myself. If it's not for my family I'm talking to, I'm basically, for the most part, all by myself. And as a person who likes to share the gospel, it makes it that much harder. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now. So, where am I at? 2004, started college, had a friendship with Elizabeth, Kelly, and Christine. That's when it kind of really picked up again. We started talking a lot, and I really needed them. Actually, they were there for me. That's actually really important to talk about. They were there for me. November 4th, 2004, girlfriend breaks up with me. Worst day of my life, or so it felt anyway at that time. You might know how it is. You really love somebody. And that was my official first girlfriend, like the first girlfriend. I don't know if I really want to count that for several different reasons. I'm not going to get into that right now, but she was like really awesome. This girl, I was like, yeah, I want to marry her. But she broke up with me. Can't blame her. Who would want to date me? But anyway, so that night was a special night because they were there for me. I was hurting like you would not believe. I was at Elizabeth's house, and we were watching Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, and I just needed to be with somebody. I just needed to be with somebody that night, and they were there for me. But anyway, I could just go on and on and on. I didn't think I was going to talk to 25 minutes and not even get to this encounter of evangelizing to them yet, or one of them, and that was a complete utter failure. But I just want to lay down the groundwork. These girls were very important to me. Actually, I'll also mention, let's see, 2005, September 2005, September 9th, 2005, which is a very special date for me for a lot of reasons. That's the date I believe God called me into ministry in a supernatural way, kind of ish. I think I talked about that before, but I'm not going to get into that now. That was a Friday, right? Yeah, that was a Friday. I can't remember if it was like after midnight and a Friday when I was woken from sleep, and then God supernaturally led me to Mark 16:15. Awesome story behind that. Or was it Friday night before midnight? But nevertheless, is either that date or the day before, however it works out. I had a public speaking class, and our first speech had to be just a real quick speech about a life-changing event. And my topic was them. Now, my friend Elizabeth was in that same class with me, and she said that she almost teared up. Because I'm talking about these girls, how a tap of the shoulder changed my life, basically. For the first time, I actually felt like I had real, legitimate friends. I mean, Brad was a friend, don't get me wrong, but people who I could talk to, like, at lunch, hang out with a little bit more, not just my friend Brad. I'm not trying to dismiss that friendship that I had with him at all. We hung out a lot outside of school, and he's pretty much almost the only friend for a lot of years I hung out with outside of school. But these friends were just fantastic in their own way, and it did in a way change my life. And that was my discussion topic. My friend Elizabeth, because at the end I didn't really say like exactly who I was talking about until the end of the speech. It was a very short, like 2-minute thing. Until the end, I mentioned their names. I said, and thank you, Kelly, Christine, and Elizabeth. And even back then, I don't think she realized how much I really appreciated all those girls, how much they meant to me. And again, not as a love interest, but just as friends. They meant the world to me. So please, as I am about to go into the story, 27 minutes in, 28, they mean the world to me. I cannot even begin to express. Just trust me on that one. So 2006, there's probably a lot more stories I can share, but 2006 comes along, and okay, I'm starting to date this other girl now, and she's a Christian. So I'm actually finally dating someone who's a Christian. We share the same values. I'm really starting out in evangelism. Earlier that year, I went to Fort Myers Beach, Florida, which we used to do when we were younger. My grandparents had a condo out there in the summertime that they would go to. So it was me and my mom. And I had these fanciful ideas. I'm going to go out there and start preaching like right away, because I'm watching all these Ray Comfort videos and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can do something like that. Well, that didn't happen. I did bring gospel tracts. I was just starting to use gospel tracts because if you remember, I talked about this in late 2005. After that September 9th, what I call supernatural, if it is or not, I don't know. But when God led me to Mark 16:15, a couple months or a month or two later, whatever, on a prayer walk, met with Jim Paulsine. He introduced me on the prayer walk while he's on the prayer walk, out in the woods, down the street from my house. Chances of that happening are astronomical in itself. Talked about Living Waters, The Way of the Master TV show. He recorded on VHS, gave that to me. The rest is history. Enter 2006. Okay, so I'm dating this girl, Christian. Let's see, my friend Christine. By the way, me and Christine had the same science class in college, and we were lab partners. We would joke how we were going to get like lab partners for life tattooed on us or something. It was a good time. It was really good. She was very special to me in that class, and it was just really awesome to have her. So even with all my shyness and weirdness and stuff like that. But anyway, she was going to college at UW-Stevens Point. Now, I kind of wanted to go there too at some point, because that is the school I heard that you would go to for things like nutrition or athletics, things that I was super interested in. So anyway, she was going there for the next semester in 2006. It was summertime, and I was going to drive her there. Me and my girlfriend at that time, we were going to drive her out there. It's about 113-ish miles from Manitowoc. So that same day that we were driving her there, it was her grandma's funeral. And I really I didn't want to lose the opportunity to share the gospel with them. Now, they knew that I was a Christian, but I never really shared with them. And I love these girls a lot. I wanted to share with them. So I thought, okay, my girlfriend at that time was super supportive. My plan was to go to the college campus, drop her off, hopefully share the gospel with her, and also on campus, walk around, it's a big campus, and share gospel tracts. I've never actually at this point handed out gospel tracts to people one-on-one either. So remember that as well. So we get out there, it was after the funeral, we get out there. I thought maybe I'll use the funeral to springboard into talking about this, sharing the gospel with her. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Use the funeral to talk about things like death and eternity. So we get there in Stevens Point. We go to McDonald's. We're eating at McDonald's, and I wanted to discuss this with her. I don't remember how we got into the discussion, but somehow we did, kinda. I just remember we got into kind of an argument about Noah and the flood. She kind of had like a liberal view of things. They grew up Roman Catholic. Elizabeth was an atheist. Her mom, this is kind of sidetracking, but her mom was a pastor, going to school to be a pastor. A lot of stuff there. I remember, I don't know if I want to get into that, because I don't want to like bad talk anybody or anything like that, but anyway, basically I would say that her mom was like a liberal pastor. This might play into what I'm about to say later on too, but she was an atheist basically, right? So anyways, me, my girlfriend, and Christine at McDonald's, we get into argument, a little bit of argument about this, and I didn't get a chance to share the gospel. We just started talking about, I was trying to get into apologetic mode, and I think my friend was trying to help me out, talking about the flood, like, oh, she doesn't believe in the flood, this is really important, and stuff like that. So it was a dud. Then afterwards, I was so deflated. I was defeated. And this is kind of its own video in itself, because afterwards, like, okay, so we drop her off at her room, and then it's just me and my girlfriend. We're walking around campus. I had a handful of gospel tracts, $1 million bill gospel tracts, and I just threw on the ground at one point. I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this. I basically threw in the towel of evangelism. I thought that this was for me. This is what God wanted for me. I felt that the very first time I stepped foot in church in 2003, Kurt, you need to share the gospel now. You need to do this. And that's who I was as a person. That's what I thought God has called me to, especially September 9th, 2005. But I just can't do this. I failed. I failed one of my best friends. That's how I felt. On the drive home, I was so sad. Like, I think I was actually in tears, actually. And my girlfriend, cheered me up, and there's a whole story with that. But she was an encouragement. And that's what we need. I've been talking about this for years, but, I have a lot of discouragement in my life. All kinds of reasons, in the church especially. Nobody to take me under their wing. Nobody to help me out in evangelism. I'm basically a lone ranger. And in a lot of ways, I kind of still am. But she was there for me, and she cheered me up, but that's kind of a whole separate thing. I did, when I got home, maybe a couple days later, I wrote something up on my MySpace. I used to do a lot of stuff on MySpace. For you, those of you who don't know, MySpace was before Facebook. It was super popular. I really kind of missed MySpace. I had a big MySpace ministry at that time. I did witness to people online. It wasn't really in person, but online, I added people at random, had lots and lots of conversations, talked to a lot of atheists, a lot of people of other religions. Those are good times. I sent out a lot of stuff in the mail, a lot of apologetic stuff. Once I got into Way of the Master, I sent out a lot of that material to other people. So that was back in 2000. I don't know if I want to say I started in 2005, but 2006 for sure. But I wrote a lot of articles. I wrote a lot of stuff called Spiritual Food, basically little miniature Bible studies. And one of them was on what happened that day, how I became so discouraged and the encouragement of my friend. But I talked about how I wanted to share the gospel with my friend Christine. I loved her so much. I wanted to share the gospel with her, and it didn't work out. And I kind of explained what I explained to you guys. I think I still have that article saved on a flash drive somewhere. I should have read that. I think I was thinking about reading that when I shared this story with you guys, but I don't have it up. It's already at 35 minutes. I'm not going to waste the time to look for it right now, but maybe someday I should share that. But anyway, so I'm getting to the part where it's kind of a tragedy. I mean, first it was bad that I didn't really share the gospel with my friend Christine, but I think I remember starting at talking about her grandma at the funeral and trying to use that as a springboard. But I wrote that article up, and it sat for however long it sat, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, I don't know. But I just felt so burdened on my heart. I really need to share with these girls. I'm losing my opportunity. They're going off to different schools now. Elizabeth was talking about going into the military. My best friends, am I going to see them much anymore? It's a crazy time in my life. And I did something I probably shouldn't have done, but I was so obsessed with wanting to share the gospel. I wanted them to see my heart. I sent that article or that post to Christine, I think in an email. My heart is beating fast. What is she going to say? What is she going to say? Day goes by. A couple days go by. Not hearing anything from her. I think I sent her a text message, and then it happened. She sent something back. She was very upset. I mean, I don't have her messages now. I can't remember exactly everything that she said, but she was very upset with me. Maybe I shouldn't have sent her. But my point, or the reason why I sent her that is because I wanted her to know what I was trying to do, and hopefully that she can see how much I loved her. And not just her, but her sister and our mutual friend, Elizabeth. So that eventually caught on to Kelly, her sister, and Elizabeth. And I lost all 3 best friends just like that. Guys, I have scars in evangelism, and this is the biggest gaping scar I have. First of all, is a failure of an attempt to share the gospel with them, because that didn't even get to the gospel. And I stuck too much on the apologetical side of things, which I shouldn't have done. And then I probably shouldn't have shared that thing with her. But again, my intent was just that they saw my heart. I really wanted to share with them. So whatever, I did what I did. And then that happened. So now the order of events, I don't remember the exact order. I think what happened next was Elizabeth called me, and this is the last time I ever heard her voice. She called me, we were talking a little bit, and she must have done some research on Living Waters, because she said she referred to gospel tracts as icebreakers, which is what they referred to it as on their website. So she must have done some research on that. And she said the last thing I ever heard her say, even to this day, was something like, what you're doing now is going to cost you your friends, like it is right now, or something like that. Click. And that's it. She was a really good friend. And Kelly was very close to me. Christine was very close to me, but she was the closest to me. I remember where I was when that happened. I was along the lake shore. I think she must have called me when I was driving. Maybe I pulled over. I immediately called my pastor, or the assistant pastor, and we talked for a little bit. It wasn't the most encouraging thing, but I just needed to talk to somebody, because he was kind of dismissive on gospel tracts and whatever. And my preferred way of sharing the gospel, using the law to get into the gospel. But whatever, that's a whole other thing with the church I was going to at that time. Now with Christine, I did talk to a little bit more. Another friend of hers, we kind of met up at a restaurant to discuss this further, and they were both kind of coming against me. Now she was kind of supposed to be the mediator. I don't remember too much about that night. But I think they kind of misconstrued what I was saying. Like they were trying to say that I was saying that I believe her grandma is in hell because they have a Roman Catholic background. I don't remember ever saying anything like that. I mean, the whole thing to me is just kind of a blur right now. And I don't, if we ever talked after that. Let's see. Yeah, so we just lost touch. I did try to talk to or add Kelly back on Facebook some years later, and she sent me a message back saying, like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. That hurt. I won't lie. Christine, I did see one time when I was delivering. This is when after I was married, had the mail job and stuff, and I was delivering to a business, and I saw her. She was working somewhere as like a receptionist or something, and said hi. We talked for a very little bit. There might be another time I could be forgetting, but that was kind of the main one. One time I was delivering to her parents' house. I think they were outside. At least maybe Kelly was, or I don't know. I was driving because they had curbside part of the route. I'm driving up to their house. And I bounced around from a lot of different routes, and that was just one of the routes I did a lot. And I saw them outside, but I was so freaking out, embarrassed, or not embarrassed, but like just scared. I'm coming up to their house. They're going to see me. Should I say hi to them? Do they hate my guts? What should I do? Probably did the stupidest thing ever. I just completely ignored them. To the point where I didn't even know if 100% for sure it was them, even though I'm pretty sure it was them. I just kind of looked forward. I think maybe it was her dad or somebody maybe came and grabbed the mail from me because they were outside too. I just gave it to them. Hey, hello, here's your mail, and just drove on. But afterwards, I turned around the corner, and my heart was beating like crazy. I was shaking, literally shaking. Should I have said hi? Should I have looked at them? I don't want to give them the impression that I hate them. Guys, I've had many dreams to this point of when I would meet them again. I can't, you wouldn't believe how many dreams I've had of them. And me encountering them and being able to talk to them again. Plentiful. A lot of dreams. I have to share this. So back shortly after, I don't know if this happened after I lost my friend Elizabeth or if it was before. It might have been after. I don't know, but I was working for Pizza Pit at the time, and I was on a delivery, and I distinctly remember this because I would pray for them a lot. This is very important to this video for like the one person that might have made it this far. This is super, super important. What's the back? Can you think of it? Oh yeah, Romans chapter 9, verse 3. I gotta get that up and ready to go. I remember this one time specifically praying for Elizabeth. And I was in tears praying this. I asked God, now remember, she's the atheist, right? If you could take my salvation, send me to hell, and transfer my salvation to Elizabeth, do that, please, God. I'm offering that right now, if it's possible. I remember praying that. Tears are just streaming down my face. And my heart kind of like stopped for a second, like, did that just happen? Like, is that possible? But that's how much I loved her. And then sometime later, I read this verse. I'm not sure if I read it before then or not, but it kind of stopped my heart for a second. It says in Romans 9:3, this is Paul speaking, "For I could wish that I myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my countrymen, according to the flesh." And that's the New King James, but basically it's saying I would trade my salvation for my fellow, countrymen, people I love. But that's what I was asking for my friend Elizabeth, because I loved her that much. And again, when I say love, I'm not speaking like, I want to marry her. No, not like that. She was like, I just loved her. She was not my best friend in the way she kind of felt like it at certain times, but she was special to me. And I wish I could tell her that I prayed that for her. Like, you may not, obviously not believe this. You may not know but I just want you to know how important my relationship with God is, how important eternal salvation is. But I was willing to give that up for you because I want you to have that. And me be accursed from Christ because I love you that much. And I want what's best for you. I wish I could tell her that. I've had like 1,000 conversations, literally 1,000 conversations with all three of them, if I could talk to them again, especially Elizabeth. Anyway, so I had to share that. So I think I tried sending all three of them messages on Facebook, like just randomly, like it's near Christmas. Hey guys, just thinking about you. It's been a long time. Just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas. And since we're not friends on Facebook, it may have come up as like, someone's trying to attempt to send you a private message that you're not friends with. And you can either like dismiss it or whatever. I think that was maybe 2017 when I tried to send that to Elizabeth. 2018 maybe. But it appears as if she's never read it, but she's at least never responded to it. But again, I haven't heard her voice or talked to her ever since that day on the phone. Haven't even seen her. Now, in my understanding, she lives in Milwaukee right now, so not like super far away from me. But now, Kelly and Christine, on the other hand, I know, being a mailman, I know where everybody lives, basically. You just know those things. In fact, last year, I was on that route. It was for the first time I got my own route last year, for most of last year anyway, where her parents lived on. So I got to talk to her dad. I don't know how much they have told her dad about me, maybe, I don't know. We talked every now and then. He'd come outside, grab the mail. We just chit-chat about random stuff, whatever. But I never seen either of them outside, the girls anyway. But a couple of times, now I bike to work in the summertime, not every day, but a lot. And there's been a couple of times I actually seen them walking, both of them. I know that Kelly lives in Two Rivers. In fact, she doesn't even live too far away from me. Now, I don't have her parents' route anymore. I got a new route this year on January 1st. That's like right around the corner from my house. So I get to stop home. So that's really awesome. Anyway, I saw them a few times walking. I remember like one of the first times I seen them, I was coming home, saw them. I think I said hi, they didn't say anything. I don't know, maybe I'm perceiving it wrong, but I think they were laughing at me. I don't know. But nevertheless, my heart was racing and I was shaking afterwards. Was that Kelly and Christine? That was them. Wow. That was them. And I just had like 1,000 thoughts going through my mind. I think I would see Christine a lot walking along the lakeshore in the mornings when I'm racing to work, because I'm always racing because I leave at just the last minute. 7.77 miles from my doorstep to work. So I saw them a few times anyway. I'm just like racing by. I don't know. She's like, I don't know what she's thinking towards me. She's walking with another person. At least I'm like 99% sure that's her. So yeah. Will I ever bump into these girls again? I don't know. But there's one thing I wish that they could know, is that I love them. I love them enough to trade my salvation for them to be saved. I wish that they could know that even though I was a total jerk in the way that, I failed sharing the gospel with them, and that was my first attempt again, sharing one-on-one with people. I wish it, for the longest time, I wish that I just didn't even try. Waited a long time until I was more equipped to share, until I got used to it sharing with other people. So I could have done it better. But I wish that they could know one thing. That, despite the fact that I totally botched the whole situation, did everything wrong probably, just that aside, if I did do it right, me losing my relationship with them ultimately would have been worth it, because that's how much I love them. I love them that much that if this was the last time I ever get to talk to them, and I would have to lose my relationship with all three of them, not just one of them, all three of them. But I got to share with them the message of eternal life that they could have newness of life in Christ Jesus, that they could have eternal salvation, all their sins forgiven, relationship, fellowship with God the Father. They could have all of that. Then I would be willing to lose my awesome friendship that I had with them. I'd be willing to do that. I wish that if I could just talk to them just once, that's one thing I would really want them to know. And I also want to tell them I miss them incredibly. Like, I just so badly want to talk to them again. I played that conversation in my mind 1,000 times. What would that look like? Like, if I accidentally bump into one of them when I'm working or when I'm just out biking, whatever, I get a chance to actually talk to them. I'm not racing to work. Say hi. I'm just imagining in my head like they don't want to say hi back. Maybe they don't like me that much still. I don't know. Even though that conversation I had with Christine at her job at that time was friendly, it was nice. But let's just, in my mind, I'm playing it out like maybe they still hate my guts. And I say hi. They're just walking to get away from me. Do I not say anything? Do I shout something? Do I say, like, I know you may not like me very much, but I still consider you my friend and I miss you, or something like that? Because I want them to know so badly, even if that's the last thing that they ever hear from me. Anyway, 50-50 right now. 50 minutes, 50 seconds. Wow. So that was my first evangelism one-on-one experience. That was a complete dud. I have scars. But I did not let that stop me from continuing in evangelism. I just take that for whatever inspiration or encouragement that's worth. I wish I had that article that I could read, because ultimately that article that I posted was meant to be an encouragement, not so much about that situation, but about me throwing in the towel of evangelism at one point. I wanted to give up completely. I'm done. I can't do this. But the encouragement of a friend, that was the point of that article. But I just wanted to share it with my friend because I wanted her to know, because she didn't know I wanted to share the gospel with her yet, because we just got into a stupid argument about some apologetic thing about Noah's flood. So yeah, and then that whole thing just blew up in my face. Anyway, 52 minutes. Can't believe that this video is this long, and took me a long time to get into it. But that's that story. Eventually, I did start having more encounters with people and sharing the gospel 1-to-1. Did take a while. Again, with my shyness and anxieties and such. Why would God choose me? I'm the last person on earth that God should pick to share the gospel with people. Seriously, the last person. But he chose me as one of his laborers. But he uses weak people. He uses the most ridiculous. I am the most ridiculous. I am the most socially awkward, shy, all kinds of things that are just, self-deprecating things I could say about myself. But he uses us. And I'm still going to keep at it. Anyway, if I could ask you guys to please pray, though, that maybe I will get to see them again and share the gospel with them, restart a friendship. And obviously, those are girls, so friendship has to be more limited than what it was, because I'm obviously married, and that would just look weird if we hung out like we hung out back then, just as friends. But maybe, I'm pretty sure Kelly has kids now. She's married, and I don't know how many kids she has, but maybe her child can hang out with my children, my younger ones. I don't know. But I just want to see them again. I hope to talk to Elizabeth again. Some way, somehow. I don't know if I ever tried adding her on Facebook or not. I did send her that message once. Pretty sure I sent Christine a message too, and again, they didn't get back to me. Not even sure if they saw it. They had to have seen it though, right? Maybe they just ignored it. I don't know. But is it too late? 2006. 15, 16 years? It doesn't feel like that. Wow. Should I try adding her? I don't know. So my friend Brad, again, the complete opposite. He would be all over that a long time ago. But I'm just nervous. I don't know. I just wish I could talk to her again. Maybe I'll send her another Christmas message or something this coming Christmas. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with her. I hope she's doing well. I hope they're all doing well. But anyway, please pray for that I can share with them. But this kind of goes into what I've been talking about too. we pray for our loved ones who we have closed doors to share the gospel with, that they would get the gospel. But the more laborers that are risen up to share the gospel, they can share the gospel with those people. So this is actually really important for me to mention. When I evangelize, they are, in a way, my motivation, even to this day, guys. This might be kind of hard to explain. But I just think about the more I share the gospel, that will have a ripple effect to reach them. Seriously, guys, that is a huge motivation to why I still share the gospel today. I mean, obviously, to obey God, to obey the scriptures, and all the other stuff I can get into. I still think about them. But I think that ripple effect, if I share the gospel, maybe someone gets saved, they start sharing the gospel, and then eventually those girls will get the gospel. Or maybe I can hopefully inspire other Christians to share the gospel. And then that will have that ripple effect where they will share the gospel with these people. Even if it's not like me asking them to, maybe somebody, because I think Elizabeth lives in Milwaukee, maybe somebody will watch these videos and they will be, oh, I got to share the gospel. Hey, these are some great ways to share the gospel. Now I'm getting more equipped, more encouraged, inspired, more comfortable going out, sharing the gospel. And she just happens to be one of the people that this person down there shares the gospel with, right? But I think about that a lot when I'm doing evangelism or making these videos. Like, they are my motivation to this day. As weird as that might sound, but I just want to share that. So, it's almost an hour now. I gotta get to bed. It's what? 1:30. I have to be up in, I don't know, not too many hours from now. So, that's my personal story with that. I hope I shared everything I wanted to share. Please pray. Trying to think of something else to say. I really doubt someone's going to make it this far. If you do happen to be one of those people that watched this far along in the video, let me know. It'd be very interesting to find out. So, yeah, nothing else to say. God bless. If I think of anything else to say, I'll put it down in the comments below. How about that? All right. God bless. Later.